How can you start a spiritual conversation with a friend, a coworker, or a complete stranger that's going to lead you to you sharing the gospel? In this video, I give you 3 questions to use to help you to have great conversations that's going to lead you to you sharing the gospel. So in another one of the videos, I've shown you an example of friendship evangelism. I've shared with you a problem that often happens with friendship evangelism. And I'm not going to get too much into it in this video, but if you want to watch the other video, there'll be a link right underneath where you're watching this. But however, the problem really with friendship evangelism is time. And time is kind of working against you because friendship evangelism says that you have to be friends with somebody first before you can share the gospel, or that a lot of times you're waiting for your friend, your unbelieving friend, to come and ask you something about a spiritual topic that's going to lead you to share with them something about God. And really the problem with that is that every day that someone spends away from God is a day that's wasted. And so the solution to that is for you to be deliberate about you starting a spiritual conversation that's going to lead you to share the gospel with someone. So let's say that you're talking with somebody, a friend of yours that's a non-believer, and you guys are talking about the weather or about something else. And then after that, you can ask them this one transition question. And you can say, "Can I ask you an interesting question?" And when you use those words, or when you use that question, basically you're indicating to your friend that you're about to shift topics and you're about to talk about something else. And a lot of times it piques the other person's curiosity and they're like, "Oh, I wonder what's on their mind." So that's a great transition question that you could use from talking about just the normal everyday things that you guys are talking about to something that's a little bit more interesting, like spirituality. And that's the next question I'm going to show you. So one of my favorite questions to use or to ask a non-believing friend is to say, "Hey, where are you on your spiritual journey?" And I love using this question because it's a very disarming question. And a lot of times it just opens up the other person to sharing with you about what's going on with their life spiritually. And from there, you can go ahead and start talking about the gospel, and I'll be giving you more tips about those in the future, about how to take the conversation from there. Another question that I really like to use is to ask, what is the one thing that matters to you in this world? And then after that, when the person answers, I'll ask them why. And it's really important to find out what matters to the other person in this world, or the most important thing to that person, because a lot of times you'll find out, what's really close to their heart, and it really helps to have a near and dear conversation with that person. So that's a really great question for you to use in order to help you get one step closer to sharing the gospel. And now I have a tweetable for you, and it's this: starting a spiritual conversation is the best way to get somebody saved. Starting a spiritual conversation is the best way to get somebody saved, and you can go ahead and use the hashtag #NotAshamedOfTheGospel, and we can have a great conversation about that on Twitter. So the reason why it's so important to start having these spiritual conversations with people is because faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. So your unbelieving friend needs to hear the gospel, needs to hear the word of God in order for them to come to faith. It may not happen immediately, but at least the gospel seed will be planted and somebody else can come water it, and it'll be a wonderful thing. Now, I used to be the biggest chicken when it came to sharing my faith. I was so fearful, and I even wrote a blog post one time about an embarrassing story that happened to me because I was so afraid of sharing my faith with somebody. And I'll go ahead and link to it in the YouTube description or on my blog, and you can read it. And trust me, if I was so fearful and by the grace of God I overcame my fear, then you can too. So go ahead and check that out. And that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed this video, then please subscribe to my YouTube channel where you can get more videos about sharing and defending the faith. Also, you can go ahead and subscribe to my newsletter and click on the link that's in the YouTube description or on my blog, because I'm also going to be giving away a free PDF that gives you 10 questions that you can ask to initiate a spiritual conversation with somebody, and that PDF is going to come to you absolutely free. So go ahead and sign up for that. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.